The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, is the stage that introduced Bob Uecker to national audiences on September 23rd, 1971. In a bit where Johnny shows Uecker photographs to describe, Uecker charms the audience and host with his timing and deadpan humor.
It's a locker room celebration.
No, this is actually a picture of me getting ready for a game. It was taken during the 1964 World Series. They had four bands on the field, and one of them took a break, so I grabbed this guy's tuba, and I was catching fly balls in that tuba. In the outfield.
There's a montage of pictures. What does this show?
Well,
I guess the first picture is where? Up
right.
there? Yeah.
This, John, you remember when I talked about catching the knuckleball?
Right.
The easiest way to catch it was to wait until it stopped rolling and just pick it up.
Bob Uecker, Mr. Baseball, died at the ripe old age of 90 on January 16th, 2025. He was known for his self-deprecating humor and storytelling abilities, but what stands out to me is how exceptionally good Uecker was at many different things in his life. Professional athlete, comedian, television personality, and then you have his remarkable longevity in the broadcasting field. 54 years with the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's talk about Bob Uecker, baseball's Renaissance man. Professional baseball is a serious, fiercely competitive game, but even then, you have to be relaxed to play it well. Bob Uecker had a gift for bringing levity to the teams he played for, a talent not always appreciated by coaches or management. In the 1964 World Series, he was fined $260 for shagging fly balls with a tuba in the outfield. He didn't play in that game, but he kept his teammates loose. Starting catcher Tim McCarver said of the 1964 season, "If Bob Uecker had not been on the Cardinals, then it's questionable whether we could have beaten the Yankees." In high-pressure postseason games, there is tremendous value to people who can relax the group and ease the tension. Even when the pressure isn't on, the team is behind, it's a bit boring in the dugout, or there's nothing happening, you need a jester. Uecker pranked teammates with calls to the bullpen, serenaded the dugout with off-key renditions of popular songs, and conducted phony post-game interviews. He used humor to keep his team loose with jokes and lighthearted fun. For all his talk of personal failure and mediocrity, let's review Bob Uecker's athletic accomplishments. He was promoted to the Milwaukee Braves in 1962, age 28, after 6 years in the minor leagues. Only 10% of minor league players will ever put on a major league uniform. He was one of them. At the major league level, Uecker batted .200 in 731 at-bats with 146 hits and 96 walks. So he was right at the Mendoza line. Not a batting average that will keep you in the major leagues for decades, but he made it. Now, imagine hitting a double through the gap. Uecker did that. Imagine hitting a home run, a blast out of the ballpark. Uecker did that 14 times, including one off the great Sandy Koufax. No, he wasn't an elite ball player, but he did things that most mortals can only dream of. With respect to his defensive skills, he was a good backstop. In fact, it was only in 1967 that his wins above replacement went into negative territory thanks to poor hitting and the luckless job of catching Phil Niekro's legendary knuckleball. That year, Uecker had 27 pass balls in 59 games. Watching footage of Niekro's knuckleball, you can't blame the catcher too much, and Uecker understood that it was better not to take yourself too seriously. Why complain about the job of catching Niekro? Comedy was Bob Uecker's superpower, and he used it to achieve new heights long after his playing days were over. Being good at multiple things is rare, and Bob Uecker did not waste his talents. After retirement from baseball, Uecker developed a stage persona in which he delivered one-liners about his mediocre play in the big leagues. The act was a hit with audiences in supper clubs, and by 1970 he had become a successful stand-up comedian, hosting banquets and appearing on local television. In 1971, the Brewers hired Uecker to scout talent and do public relations. All of this happened right around the time when Johnny Carson's people became aware of this quick-witted gentleman from the Midwest and invited him to Los Angeles. That was the beginning of over 100 appearances on The Tonight Show and exposure to a national audience as the ex-ballplayer who mocked himself. Second careers impress me. Uecker's first was playing baseball. His second and third careers were as a comedian and television personality, and by the start of the 1980s, they blossomed. In 1984, he hosted Saturday Night Live. During the opening monologue, Uecker talked about his playing days before receiving a phone call from President Ronald Reagan.
Hello, Bob. This is President Reagan calling from the White House.
Oh, Mr. President.
Well, let me just say, as an ex-sportscaster myself, that, well, based on tonight's show, you've got a heck of a career ahead of you as an ex-sportscaster. Of course, I'm just kidding.
Of course, in keeping with his stage persona, Uecker discovers the call is a recording because Reagan wouldn't actually stay up late to watch his performance live. In 1985, he began hosting Bob Uecker's Wacky World of Sports and starring in the ABC sitcom Mr. Belvedere, a show in which he portrayed a father and sports writer who hires an English butler to help raise his children. In 1989, he portrayed broadcaster Harry Doyle of the Cleveland Indians in the box office hit Major League, a film that left us with a memorable catchphrase.
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
And then you have his well-liked Miller Lite commercials. It's an impressive resume, and it takes me to an important point. Bob Uecker kept up his radio broadcasts of Brewers games. By the mid-1980s, he could have given up that fourth career to move west and pursue a full-time career in film and television, but he didn't. And that life choice reveals Uecker's priorities. He wanted success in the entertainment industry, but he also wanted to preserve his longtime relationship with the Brewers and his hometown.
But you know, of all the things that I've done, this has always been number one, baseball. The commercials, the films, the television series. I could never wait for everything to get over to get back to baseball.
And one more thing, you don't get good at play-by-play broadcasting by accident. You have to master its rhythms, the art of when to tell a story and when to focus on the game or shut up. Uecker developed his craft to become one of the best, and he did it 54 years until his death in 2025. Let's listen in to a call of his during the 1980s.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. The stretch. Jackson leads the pitch. Is hit over Cooper's head to right, a base hit. Here is Reggie turning second, trying for third. Moore's going to have a play on him to throw in time to get Jackson. Oh, what a throw by Moore!
Among the small cohort of broadcasters who called baseball games for half a century, Vin Scully, Jack Buck, Jaime Jarrín, Harry Carey, none were major league players. None juggled separate careers in film and television while achieving success and excellence in the broadcast booth. In this respect, Uecker was singular. Major league player, nationally known comedic personality, beloved voice of the Brewers. He had multiple careers and excelled in all of them. Johnny Carson nicknamed Bob Uecker Mr. Baseball, and that's what he was. In 2003, the Baseball Hall of Fame honored him with the Ford C. Frick Award for Excellence in Baseball Broadcasting. I've included a link to his acceptance speech in this video's description because it's comedy gold. And here I want to share one of his many memorable lines.
I still, and this is not sour grapes by any means, still think I should have gone in as a player.
But all jokes aside, it's hard to overstate the extent to which he was loved and appreciated in Milwaukee. Uecker stayed close to the Brewers, to its players, to its fans, and to the city where he was born and raised. He called ball games on WTMJ radio up to the very end of his life, even after he was too fatigued to work the entire game. There was something scrappy about a man who refused to quit broadcasting in his old age. Uecker was the cheerful face of an underdog franchise facing big market teams with massive payrolls. Baseball's Renaissance man lived a great life, and he was loved by the people around him. In the comments, let me know what resonates with you about Bob Uecker's life and career. And thanks for watching.
Good seats, hey, buddy. He missed the tag. He missed the tag.